This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, August 6th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today we're going over a COVID-19 update here in Orange County, as well as AdventHealth's recent acquisition of Holy Land, and we're giving you details on a Star Wars hotel. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have government reporter Ryan Gillespie and theme park reporter Dwayne Bevel. Thank you both so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Ryan, coming to you first. As I'd mentioned before, we're talking about COVID-19, and experts in Orange County are saying that we've seen deaths, 15, I believe, this week due to COVID-19. But experts are saying that that's bound to go up very soon. Why do they say that?
Well, we've talked for weeks about the rising infections, and then starting last week, we started seeing these record highs in hospitalizations. And so what we've seen for the last 18 months of this pandemic is it's a bit of a cycle. When you get a rise in infections, about a week or two later, you get a rise in hospitalizations, which is where we are. And then a week or two after that, you get a rise in deaths. But we're at that stage now where we've had record hospitalizations. We've got a bunch of people in intensive care units at hospitals around the region. And data from the first 18 months or so of the pandemic has shown about half of people who make it into ICU with COVID-19 will die from the virus. And we've got a lot of people in ICU. So that's kind of the expectation going forward. We've had 15 this week. I do think it's important to note that doesn't necessarily mean 15 people died this week. We got reports of 15. So some of those get traced back to July. Maybe they died 3 weeks ago and something happened with the paperwork and getting it to the state to formally report it. So we know for sure in Orange County, we've had 2 people die of COVID-19 in the month of August, so this week. But there might be more that just haven't been reported yet, but there's more to come.
Thanks for clarifying that. I want to also talk to you about, as we're seeing more infections rise and more deaths rise, we're also seeing the median age of these infections go down. What is the median age now?
So if we think back to October, so almost a year ago, the median age of people who died in Orange County was about 80 years old. Makes sense. You know, it was a pandemic of the elderly in a lot of cases, the most serious cases, before we had vaccines. Now, basically, I say this post-vaccination, but not everybody's vaccinated. It's still ongoing. But the highest rate of vaccine is in the elderly now. So the age has fallen, the median age down to 65. That's a big drop, but at the same time, the people who are dying are mostly unvaccinated. So while it's a younger crowd that is getting serious infection, presumably you would think that they would fare better than more elderly, I guess we can say. But they're still unvaccinated, so they're at risk. So I think that the important thing to drive home is that the best way we know to prevent serious hospitalization and death is to get vaccinated.
Now, Ryan, as far as hospitalizations go, as you've mentioned, we've talked a lot on the show about how we're seeing that rate continue to increase here in Central Florida. What is the intake that hospitals have right now? What status are they at?
So the most up-to-date information we know, so as of Thursday, so yesterday, at AdventHealth, they had 1,350 people who were hospitalized. That's across their Central Florida region. That's not just in Orange County. So it's Orange, Seminole, Osceola, I believe it's Polk, Flagler, and Lake, I think. There's another county. So they've got 1,350. 300 of those are in ICU. So if we just were to consider the figure I said earlier, that roughly half of those people die, if we look at the statistics, that's a lot of deaths that we could potentially add in the coming weeks. And that's just at the largest hospital system. If we look at Orlando Health, they have 573 inpatients with another 89 in ICU. As Dr. Rubino said yesterday, the next couple of weeks could be very rough when it comes to that. There's hope that this Delta variant spike, as aggressively as it increased, there's evidence in Europe when countries there saw similar spikes that it equally declined very quickly. So there's hope that could happen here. We're not there yet. We don't have a ton of evidence that it's imminent either, but it's possible. So that's kind of the hope, is that in the coming weeks that maybe we'll see a sharp decline equally as we saw this sharp incline. So yeah, and I mean, if there's any reason to be optimistic, Dr. Alpino said yesterday that county officials are seeing maybe a slight increase in people getting vaccinated, which again is the best way to protect against serious illness and death.
The important sign is that we have seen an increase in the demand for vaccines. The numbers are not huge, but they are coming about 300 to 200, between 250 to 300 a day, some days more than others. But we will take any increase. That's positive. And another number that I want to give to our population is 12 to 17 years old. That percentage with at least one dose is at 47%, which is has increased since we were reporting to you a couple of weeks ago in the 20s and 30s. So there has been a significant move. So probably a lot of the increases that we have seen is in the younger population that is going for vaccine, which is critical to control this pandemic.
All right, Ryan, I want to move along here to another story that you recently wrote about AdventHealth's recent purchase of the Holy Land experience for about $32 million. Now, Holy Land, I believe, closed its doors just prior to the pandemic. But in this new sale, have we found out from AdventHealth what they plan on using the land for?
Well, it's no surprise the expectation is that they will be using the land for some sort of healthcare service. I don't know precisely what. I'm not totally sure if they do, and if they do, they haven't said. Basically, what we got from a spokesperson over at Advent was that they will be releasing site plans in the future, but that Orlando continues to be one of the fastest growing regions in the country, and it's important that residents have access to healthcare that's close to home, convenient, and comprehensive. It's a large property that they purchased. It's 14 acres, so they could do any number of things with it. But yeah, that's an Orlando landmark that if anybody's ever driven on I-4, it's hard to miss it there at Conroy. That apparently is on its way out.
Absolutely. If you're all looking for more details on either of these stories, be sure to take a look at Ryan's work online right now at orlandosentinel.com. Ryan, thank you so much. All right, Dwayne, I want to move over to you now, talking about something that a lot of Star Wars fans have had their eyes on, looking for details, and Disney has recently done so for its Star Wars hotel, the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser.
For the first time, it's real. We've traveled to the far reaches of the galaxy. We got recruited by the Resistance. And now, we're ready.
Come on, Dad! We gotta go save the ship.
No. We're gonna save the galaxy.
We've got details including sample prices, and exactly what you might be able to find inside. So first of all, let's start with, what is this Star Wars hotel?
Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. It's more of an experience than a hotel, is how I advise people to look at it. You know, it's not the kind of place where you check in and then you go over to Magic Kingdom. You know, you've come for a 2-day event. You know, and it's very cosplayish, it's very immersive. And I think for the money you're spending, you're going to want to stay there and absorb as much as you can for as long as you can. So, you know, it's not like people will drop in and hang out by the pool with you at Galactic Starcruiser. So Disney doesn't call it a hotel. They might have at the very first. And if you Google Star Wars Hotel, you'll find it. But I think it's in their best interest to make it more like a cruise experience. You know, so you check in, you do these things, there's galas, there's dinner, there's a captain's table, there's entertainment. There are excursions to Batu/Hollywood Studios. So, and it all, you know, Disney likes to tell a story, and you all have your own story that changes with decisions you make when you interact with Star Wars characters. Yes, that is true. And your room will have, you know, a window to the cosmos. You know, one of the frequently asked questions I got on there, are we really going to space? Which, you know, a year ago is a crazy question. This year, not quite so crazy, you know? So no, this is pretend. Let's pretend we're not pretending, but we are pretending.
You mentioned food before. I'm wondering what that includes here.
For the price, and we need to get to the price.
Well, we're going to.
Your meals, your breakfast, lunch, dinner, sort of thing. For I think it's 7 meals. 3 is into the 3rd day for that breakfast. The meals, the Disney chefs have cooked up some intergalactic looking things, and they haven't been very specific what they are. They look very exotic and maybe wormy. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, oh, I guess I would eat that. It's not. It's appealing looking, but for me, I'm like, well, what is it? And all will be revealed. I'm sure. That we saw pictures was exciting.
So, Dwayne, we're talking about food. We're talking about being around like-minded Star Wars people. But what else can you do in this experience?
So one of the things they're talking about is adults will be able to train with a lightsaber, with some sort of remote device. So I think that appeals to people. And, children have been able to lightsaber train at Hollywood studios for years. And I think there's been a jealousy factor, So, yeah, I think Disney is pushing all your Star Wars buttons.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. I've heard many a time that Star Wars is for kids, but in many cases, Star Wars is also for adults who never grew up. I'm definitely one of those. So I see how that experience applies to many. All right, Dwayne, my last question here, and we've kind of teased it a couple times, is the price for this kind of an experience. What are we talking?
They gave 3 sample prices for very specific days on weekdays in August and September of 2022. So for 2 guests in a cabin, 2 adults, 2 days, all inclusive. Well, you get meals and all the experiences. That's a total of $4,809. 2 days, 2 people. Now that breaks down to $1,209 per guest per night. Right. Now, your per guest rate goes down if you have 3 or 4 people, and there are beds, and there are suites that sleep up to 8. So and those are not priced. But here's how I don't know this. I'm guessing this is the low end price. They're not going to show us the top number right now. I think they're trying to brace people. I mean, it's in the cruise family, but you're not going anywhere. But if you want to do Star Warsy things, I'm writing something next week about A, what else you could buy for that, and B, how much it's like a cruise, and some people, a friend of mine says, I'd rather go to Croatia. Well, go to Croatia. You don't have to do this, but there are people, because this is, right now, it's one of a kind. It's the only place on Earth you could do this and be really all the way in. Now, Imagineers last week I thought was interesting. They were saying, oh, it's for people who love Star Wars and people who love Star Wars. They're basically saying, if you just want to sit in the corner and have a cocktail, it's okay. Because so far, it doesn't seem like it. But, spend your money however you want to.
It sounds like the latter portion of that sounds like an incredibly expensive way to do some people watching, but probably some good people watching.
Right. Yes.
Has Disney said when they plan on opening up the Starship experience?
So we know spring. We don't know what that means. Spring of 2022. We don't know if that means January or June. It's under construction. Just last week is the first time they said spring. Previously, they said 2022, narrowing it down to spring. The prices are for August. So, another interesting thing is it's only 100 cabins. So they don't need a ton of families to want to do this. Although there's a lot of turnover, whereas some of the other hotels, people come and stay a week. Well, you can't do that here. You're staying 2 days. Then go stay at the other hotel, enjoy your pool time. So there's a lot of ways it is not a hotel, and no one can stop calling it Star Wars Hotel because that's fun. but and it means more than Galactic Starcruiser.
There you guys go. A galaxy far, far away, coming to you very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that and more details. You can find out more from Dwayne's story online at OrlandoSentinel.com, where, of course, you can find many other stories about what's going on in your community and further out. Be sure to take a look at OrlandoSentinel.com. And if you're a subscriber, thank you so much for continuing to support our work and local journalism. If you want to become a subscriber, it's easy to do so. All you need to do is visit OrlandoSentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that is our show here for today. We'll be back again with more news next week. A big thank you to Ryan and Dwayne for keeping us filled in what's going on in our community. We'll see you guys again soon. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on OrlandoSentinel.com.